We're going to be talking about this news story after I order my coffee. Good morning. Do y'all do mobile orders? Okay, it wouldn't let me. But all right, can I get the like a venti of the white chocolate macadamia cold brew?
Anything else?
Yeah, extra ice, and I want to add hazelnut and a mocha pump to that, and 3 packets of honey. And then 2 large cups of ice water, if you don't mind. At Starbucks, finishing for this morning before we get some errands done. And I have been watching the news about AJ and her murder. Turn my card on. Okay, so just paid for my coffee. Gonna wait for that to get done real quick. But like I said, so I've been watching the news, and Miss AJ Owens, y'all say her name, y'all remember her name, has been murdered, allegedly by Susan Lorincz. And I'm just appalled. I'm absolutely devastated that another woman of color has been murdered in cold blood. It's ridiculous. The fact that I can walk around and buy coffee this morning to my children, interact with my spouse and significant other and be alive when AJ Owens is dead. How? How is this still happening? How is this still a thing where women who look like me are being gunned down and murdered for just existing? I don't know how many of you have listened to the story of what has happened with Miss AJ Owens' murder. But let's play some of this while we wait on my coffee to get done. Let's play some of the clips so you guys can kind of catch up.
New for you at 10. When someone uses a medical illness to continue receiving...
All right, that is not the one. Sorry about that. Watching all the news. So Susan Lorincz, we're not going to repeat her name too much because who gives a shit other than the fact that she should rot behind the 4 white walls she is now in, and that's as far as we're going to go. We're not going to validate or glorify that person and her name. We're going to talk about AJ from here on out.
Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. We're moving now to Marion County, Florida. On Tuesday, authorities announced an arrest in the fatal shooting of a woman during a neighbor dispute. Police were already...
So I'm gonna pause right there already. So this is a dispute between 2 neighbors is how this started off. A dispute between Miss AJ Owens and her Caucasian neighbor. Okay, so let's start there.
Responding to a trespassing call at an apartment complex on Friday when a shooting was reported at the same location. Authorities found 35-year-old AJ Owens in front of the suspect's apartment with a gunshot wound. She was taken to a hospital and pronounced dead. The suspect has been identified as 50-year-old Susan Lorincz. Investigators believe that she got mad at her Owens children who played in a field close to her property.
I'm gonna pause it again. So I know they probably captured the most dramatic photo of the alleged as possible. I know how media works. So obviously I get that her face probably doesn't always but look at this face. Does not even look like the face of a woman who is remorseful of her actions at all. She just looks like the face of a woman who's been caught, who's been discovered for what she truly is, and the devil that truly lies in beneath and in between. You feel me? So I'm already upset just watching this fucking alleged criminal, be escorted. The fact that she's even still alive when we know that if she looked like you, me, or Miss AJ Owens, she would not even be walking. She would not be standing. I mean, just look at where AJ is. And it gets worse. It gets much worse. So let's just, oof.
Evidence allegedly shows the suspect confronting the children and even throwing things at them. The children told their mother, and she went to confront Lorincz. That's when police believe Lorincz shot one bullet through her front door, striking Owens.
No, 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 no. No, no, you can't tell me that this was self-defense. So these two neighbors have already had multiple altercations and interactions with each other that did not go positively. So Miss AJ gets word from her children that the alleged has been throwing objects and being a bitch towards these children. So like any mother would do, Miss AJ goes over to the alleged's doorstep to find out what's good. You know, why are you fucking with my kids? Just like I would have done. And I have two young men for my children. And if they come to me and tell me anybody is messing with them, best believe mama gonna pull up. Really, Susan?
In the upper chest, while two of her children stood beside her. Lorincz told investigators she acted in self-defense, claiming that Owens tried to break down her door. She also accused Owens of attacking her in the past. Lorincz faces charges of manslaughter, negligence, assault, and battery. Her first...
This... I'm not even gonna say person, because I don't even fucking know if I can classify someone who would do something like this as a person. This thing here done sat up here and shot AJ Owens in front of her children. Y'all make it make sense. So AJ goes to the door with the children, who probably had already came to her and was like, you know, mama, this woman just threw skates at us. And apparently the alleged had been causing drama in the neighborhood between these children and her and the mom. It has been an ongoing thing. And you see how this shit escalates though. And this is one thing that I try to tell my friends and my non-African American friends and family and allies and things like that. You know, why sometimes I'll have my guard up, and why I'm always looking and wary of what's going on and what's being said and protecting me and mine. Because look at how this incident between two neighbors over where their children play ended up in the death of another black woman, another black mama right there in front of her kids. And y'all want to tell me that there is not a fucking crisis going on? That there's not a fucking hidden genocide of the African American people going on? You know, my channel is normally all about the plant, all about the food, you know, all about the nature. And it's still gonna be that. But I would be remiss as a black woman, as a black mom, if I did not speak out on shit like this when it's going down. If I did not speak my mind and tell the world where ain't no mommy high enough stands when it comes to stuff like this. I have zero chill. May that goddamn bitch rot behind the four walls she's in. The four white walls she's in. May that white bitch rot behind her. I ain't got a racist bone in my body. I was raised by a white family, and that's why stuff like this makes me so upset. Because I was adopted by a Caucasian family for close to 10 years. And that was the most love and acceptance I had ever felt as a child and as a young adult, being raised by the Caucasian family who raised me. So for me to see that there are some white people who treat people like me the way my adopted family did, with love and acceptance and support, and they just get it. And then there are those who do things like what the alleged has done, arguing with children. So her claim is that she shot AJ in self-defense because she was afraid AJ was going to break her door down. Now, unless AJ Owens is a 7-foot-tall linebacker, hockey player, lumberjack, Amazon, you know, whatever the case may be, there was no way that this woman and her two children were gonna knock down her door. So to pull out a gun in self-defense, are you serious? How many more? How many more? You know, how many more of us have to die before we get it, before we understand that there is a crisis going on, that our children are in danger, that our women are in danger, and so are our men. There's my beautiful coffee. This is beautiful, thank you. Are they still gonna do those 2 ice waters that I asked for?
Yeah, give me one moment.
Take your time, thank you. I have no qualms as I'm walking in talking about this. A lady straight looking at me like, what did she say? You heard me correctly. You know, we talk about all things under the sun, but nobody wants to address the reality that we are being murdered in these streets. If you look like the bottom part of this coffee, then you understand. If you look like me and you're a mom and a woman living in America, I bet you understand. And until you have lived the fear, until you have walked down the street and wondered, like, is this gonna be the day that some fucking racist kills me or my children? Like, until you've had that fear, then you don't get to speak. You don't get to have an opinion. If your skin color has provided you with all the things, then you don't have an opinion. Unless women who look like you are being murdered like women who look like me, then you don't get to say shit unless it is support. Because there's no way you can deny what is going on in America. The fucking dude who y'all voted in as president is being indicted. The leader, the ex-leader of this fucking country is being indicted on criminal charges. But we don't want to believe that America is going through a racial crisis, a genocide of the black people, of black and brown people. And we're not the only ones, because I know my Chicana brothers and sisters understand what I'm saying, especially me moving here to Santa Barbara. I have learned so much and interacted so much with Hispanic culture and people. And it's just like, damn, what they doing to the browns? They trying to take all the brown out, man. It's crazy. And not just in ways that are obvious. Not just murdering us on their doorstep, taking us out. I'm talking like taking us out of jobs. Trying to smooth us out of positions. You feel me? Trying to take over, especially in the cannabis industry. I haven't even got a chance to really speak on that yet. But believe me, it's coming. Believe me, that conversation is coming. Because especially in the cannabis industry, I, for one, as a black woman, have worked so hard for the last 5 years to get in this industry, stay in this industry. Because it's not easy, because there are definitely people who do not want people who look like me in the cannabis industry. Why? You have to ask them that. I do believe it's because we have a history with the plant that speaks for itself, that people like me, my people, we know what the fuck we doing. Cannabis has been the plant of Africa and African Americans. You don't get no blacker than weed. But now that the white people have found value and want to monetize that commodity, just the same way they did black folks in general when they went to Africa and found out how amazing we ran our crops and how we thrived with the community. We had very, very little over there, but we thrived. So why would you not want to bring people over here that could do that? And now that we got over here, done found ourselves, done figured out what the fuck was going on, hundreds of years later, still trying to come out of the fucking slavery and shit that we put through. Now y'all want, oh, you know, that's over with, that's done with. Is it though?
Court appearance is scheduled for Thursday morning. Many people were wondering why it took authorities 4 days to make an arrest, despite surveillance cameras covering most of the complex. The police department released.
Now, I've already watched the next part, so I'm just going to say, before the police chief or whatever starts running his mouth, I get both sides. I get why the police need to take their time to investigate the shit. But where is that time when the alleged looks like me? Where's all this time they take to investigate and corroborate? Where's all of that when the suspect looks like me? There's none of that. But you get about 5 shades lighter than me, and all of a sudden we need all this extra time and witness statements and collaborations to prove the case, right? But you don't need all of that shit when the person is black, when the alleged is African American or brown. You just go arresting, because I know this because it's happened to me personally 3, 4, 5 times. Here in the last 3 days, I was pulled over by Los Angeles police for nothing other than being black. So after he pulled me and my wife over for just driving, did nothing wrong. He ran my license, couldn't find anything to get us on. So he let us go. And I asked him, I said, "So, officer, why'd you pull us over then?" "Oh, you're not supposed to have a dash mount for your phone on the windshield." The same dash mount I've been driving with in my vehicle for over a year now with my phone in it, that I bought from AutoZone. All of a sudden I'm not supposed to have. Kiss my ass, officer. Kiss it. Kiss it. Black, white, yellow, brown. Kiss it.
It's the video late Tuesday explaining why.
Sometimes when we do these investigations of cases of this level, rushing in to make an arrest is not the right thing to do sometimes.
Is it now? Is that the case? So you mean to tell me that somehow y'all have now discovered, in this case, that rushing in and arresting folks isn't always the best idea? How? It doesn't seem like PD of any city gives a fuck about that until the fucking suspect is white. They ain't never gave a damn about rushing in and arresting nobody when the suspect looks like me or somebody brown. They don't give a shit about arresting nobody. But all of a sudden, now they want to take 4 days to look into it and arrest Miss Susan for shooting this black mother right there in front of her 2 children. They need days now to figure out.
In fact, it could probably cause complications or cause errors. Because we want to
Rushing in and arresting people may cause complication and errors, you say? Is that not what we've been saying for years? But no, y'all rush in and arrest us on a dime, on a little bitty tip, just because somebody black is mentioned. We arrested just like that. Ain't no time to investigate. Ain't no time to corroborate and gather evidence. Y'all do all of that shit after we way behind bars and our career is over and our life is over and our children are in foster care. Then y'all want to start doing your due diligence. But no, let's just take 4 or 5 days for Miss Susan here to get her shit together after she done shot and killed AJ Owens right there in front of her children for nothing but existing.
sure that what we present, that justice is served all the way through the courts.
Justice.
And that the individual gets what they deserve.
Deserve?
And that's one of the things. My detectives cannot complete an investigation without getting all sides of a story. And that night, all we had was one person's story, and that was the shooter's story. But Miss Owens' story had to be told through evidence.
And now Miss Owens' story has to be told through voices like mine and yours. Because she's dead. Because this bitch killed her. Y'all let that sink in. Now, AJ Owens' story has to be told through the memories and the trauma of her children, the evidence. She can't speak for herself anymore. But this person gets to walk free and now has been let out on bail. But that's another story for another day. Let's just...
The eyes of witnesses who were there. I told you that we want nothing more than justice, and this can only be accomplished by maintaining the integrity of the case and leaving no stone unturned.
Josh, the sheriff said that Florida's stand your ground law doesn't apply here, so could it still be considered by the court system as charges move forward?
Fuck that stand your ground law, because that is just opening the door for people like her to shoot people like AJ. Again, another video for another day. Ooh.
Well, it's going to be considered in her case in the way that she defends herself and just helping jurors to understand what she was experiencing that day. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this is an incredibly difficult case for the defense, and I think they have a real uphill battle. But if they're going to mount any defense whatsoever, they're going to have to explain to jurors what took place in that moment. What was it about the immediacy, the threat that she felt that she was experiencing in that moment that she felt that she had to use deadly force? The prosecution, on the other hand, is going to concentrate on the history between these people, on this ongoing feud, on how this wasn't about a moment.
In that moment, I wasn't there, obviously, neither were you. But I just cannot believe that in the moment of a mother and two children knocking on your door, I don't care how mad she was, I don't care how loud she was. Of course, you know, black people get loud and blah, 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 and people want, oh, whatever. This is a mother and a woman in distress. You cannot tell me, short of having a bat, some type of object or weapon, how was the alleged's life in jeopardy? How was she threatened? She is in her home behind closed doors, and you have a woman and her two children on the other side of that door. How is your life in danger? AJ could have beat on that door. Knock, 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 knock. How is your life in danger to the point of you pulling out a gun and firing it blindly? You don't know if where her children were standing, where she was standing, or you did, and you did that on purpose, because there is no way her life was threatened by that woman, AJ Owens, and her two children standing on that doorstep. I don't care how mad AJ was, because I'm sure she was mad. This woman been throwing objects at her children and apparently have had many altercations with her in the past. So of course she was upset. I'm not going to sit here and say that AJ knocked on the door all tenderly. No. She was probably mad. She was probably heated. Things were probably intense. But intense enough to pull out a gun and straight up murder this woman in front of her two children because she's on your doorstep?
This was about a boiling anger and resentment growing inside of her, and that's what led her to make this decision that day. And therefore, it is not self-defense. And, you know, Florida has these laws that are pretty strongly in favor of self-defense, but shooting through a door seems like a really difficult argument to me.
And the arguments you're saying the defense has to make, it almost sounds like the defendant has to testify. But we'll wait for that. Terry, what is your opinion of the criminal charges brought against the shooter? Do you think she should also be charged with murder?
Absolutely, I do, because if you think about it, this wasn't manslaughter. I think they have charges for first-degree murder, actually, because for Florida, all you have to do is show that it's premeditated. Now, many people do think premeditated means it has to be planned out weeks ahead, months ahead. No, premeditated can be, at that moment, she decided,
Do I believe that the alleged took months and weeks to think it through before shooting her? No. Obviously, this was like in the heat of the moment and of what was going on in that moment. In her mind, she probably contemplated and thought out, okay, well, she's at my door. There's a stand your ground law where I'm at. Technically, this is my chance. We all know how people like this think. Sort of. I don't really know how people like that think. I don't think like that. But through the history, we can see that's how it goes. So what I believe is that she used that situation in conjunction with the stand your ground law to take her opportunity. And that's what I mean by premeditated. She had already had beef with this woman and her kids. She was already frustrated by the situation, the fact that they existed. Apparently she was mad because the children were playing on her property. Like, what kind of bitter bitch do you have to be that angry about where children are playing? Like, what kind of... So Let's just keep an eye
Kill
on
the
the
person
woman.
at my door. And she had no reason to do that. She didn't really see a threat. I mean, it's a mother and a child, so. And I also think second degree, which is a depraved mind. So, you know, she had a reckless disregard for any life. So I definitely think they could have put murder charges, and I think they could have proven murder charges.
Yeah, what you're saying, Terry, makes you have a question of when did she decide to get the gun? I think that's going to be a big point is here what level of premeditation she had. Well, when we come back after just a few hours of deliberation.
You know, keep in mind, he said, what level of premeditation? There was definitely premeditation. You don't just pull out a gun and shoot blindly, murdering a woman in front of her 2 children, especially not when there was ongoing beef between these 2 neighbors. Wow. And the genocide of the black people does not exist, right? We're going to keep going, though.
There's a verdict in the trial of a former NFL player. His team's reaction from outside the courthouse is next.
Ooh. So, I want to go to this one because this is going to be the last little clip. And I tried to watch it earlier, and I just couldn't watch it. It was way too emotional for me. But I got my water, and now that we're done at Starbucks, I'm going to put out my plant medicine. I'm going to medicate, and we're going to watch this next clip, which is going to be featuring AJ's family and the attorney as they speak out about what has happened. I can only imagine what her children are going through, just thinking of my own 2 sons and how they would just come undone if something like this were to happen in our family. I just cannot believe that another brown woman has been murdered in cold blood. It's just, how many? I'm just going to keep asking. How many of us have to die? And you, until you see it like that, you won't get it. It's not how many of us get our toe stubbed or how many of us are irritated or pissed off. Like, the question literally is, how many black women have to die before we realize that there is a pandemic, a murdering black people just because I can pandemic? Let's just watch.
Thomas, I represent, along with Mr. Benjamin Crump, the family in this matter. We want to make sure that we get the answers for the family, but we want an arrest right now. There are many questions out there that we have. We all are feeling as if there is some shade or we're being left in the dark for some reason where these answers haven't been met. And so we want to get to that. But before we get to that, we need an arrest. Make no
Now, an arrest has obviously been made since this video came out.
mistake about it, we do support our sheriff. But at the same time, we want him to do the job that he has promised that he will do. And we want swift justice. And that comes first with an arrest.
Swift justice. Swift justice. You know what they be trying to do to us? As soon as 911 called, our fate is sealed. We are found fucking guilty. That kind of justice. You know, it just seems to me, because I feel that I can speak on this personally, because as y'all may have seen with my recent arrest that was featured on Black Women Who Blaze, we don't get the ask questions now, arrest later. We get arrested now, and then they ask us questions later.
He needs probable cause. That's what he's told me. So at this time, if there are members of the press who would like to ask questions, I will be answering on behalf of the family. Certainly, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I know you have 1,000,001 questions to ask. But right now, we just want to make sure that we send the message and that we stand in solidarity today. I'm glad our members of the clergy are here today to stand in solidarity on behalf of this family, these children who lost their mother in cold blood. We need answers. We need an arrest. Thank you.
Look at them kids.
You really got a very confused. You got city councilman here. What is she saying? You not
I just want to take a moment. I'm going to really try not to get emotional. But I'm so upset. I'm angry. And I think what angers me the most is that other people are not angry. Because how can you see this and not be mad? How can you hear about stuff like this and not be just devastated by what the world is? Look at these kids. Look at this family. I can't imagine what they're going through. My mom died because of health issues, and she was taken away suddenly. Just woke up one morning and she was gone. So I just cannot imagine what these children, what AJ Owens' children must be going through to not only have their mother taken so suddenly, but just murdered for existing and for doing what every mother should do, and that's protect her children. And if there were not people like Susan Lorincz in the world, then black mothers like myself would not have to sometimes go to the extreme of our personality. And I want to say that again, to the extreme of our personality to protect our children. All of the people who have come out and talked about AJ Owens' character and how wonderful of a person and mother she was. And I can tell that just by looking at this screenshot right here that we're on, and the people and family that she has come out, that she has to support her, and the love that they must feel towards her, and the sadness, the intense sadness for the loss of another black life. And it could be me tomorrow. We've seen black people now being gunned down for knocking on doors, for walking down the street with hoodies on. And I'm not afraid for me. I'm afraid for my children because I have 2 black children who look just like AJ. And all the other black people who have been just murdered. And
I'm sorry. The gentleman in the front is asking a question.
We didn't really get a very complete account from the sheriff of what may have happened. We apparently understood what he was saying. Are you able to give an account of what happened on Friday evening, how it unfolded?
According to the information that we've been located, I'm sorry, they didn't hear you. So the question is whether or not we can give an account of what has happened. Like was said earlier today, this horrible, unjustified killing was done in front of the children. The children are the witnesses. These children have been through a lot.
Lord.
And certainly we don't want to put any pressure on the children because we want them to have the opportunity to grieve and also explain what has happened to their mother. Those stories are in development. And we have found out so far and also explain what has happened to their mother. Those stories are in development. And we have found out so far that there was an iPad. I'm sure you heard that from Sheriff Woods today. Whereas it belonged to one of the children. And there was a situation between Susan and the children. One of the children were hit with a pair of skates. I'm sure Sheriff Woods explained that today as well. You heard that today. And of course, AJ, Ms. Owens, went to see why.
What the fuck's good? Like, why would
She
you
knocked
throw
on the
steaks
door.
at my kids? What
According
the
to the
fuck?
information-
Like, again, if people like Susan Lorincz didn't exist, black women would not have to go to the extreme of our personality to protect our children.
I've been given once. When there was no answer, she simply replied, "I know you hear me." There was no altercation. At the time that was said, the shot rang, killing Miss Owens in front of her children. That's all the story that I have it this far until we get more developments. I'm only taking questions from members of the press at this time.
Do you believe that? About a demand for justice and that step one would be an arrest. What does complete justice look like to you?
A conviction. Well, complete justice is, first of all, Sheriff Woods taking care of his responsibilities and doing his due diligence.
Conviction.
He makes an arrest, comes first. And after that arrest, he needs to do a complete and thorough investigation. The state attorney also has equal duty and obligation.
Set those kids up with college funds. Set those kids up with houses, pensions. Retirement. Those kids better be set up for life.
When it comes to defining what justice means. And so once we get the information over to the state attorney, it's the state attorney's job to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. And so once we are able to get the prosecution and everything that comes before that, we want a conviction.
That's right.
Because this cannot go away. These children are never going to forget what has happened to their mother. What are we as a community going to do about that?
The worst has already happened to them.
As the family's attorney, do you believe probable cause has already been established?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not my job to determine. That is Sheriff Woods' job.
You need to get up on.
That's why we got you here, because we tired of it. It's not the first time. Don't tell me.
And that's why we're meeting here today, to make sure that we have the community support, to make sure that not only me as their attorney, but also the entire community is demanding justice. This is Sheriff Woods' county. We are members of this county. We all need to come together in solidarity to let him know. Call him. Tell him what you feel. He's a public official. He can hear you. He may not want to. But he has taken on this job, and so he has to answer those hard questions.
And that is the truth right there, ladies and gentlemen. The people who have to answer those questions and do the prosecuting and handle the cases like this, we just have to leave things in their hands and hope that they serve justice. We know what history looks like. I don't know how many more of us have to die, and that's why I put the caption the way I put it, because it seems to be a never-ending cycle of hate that America is still swimming in, I'm completely devastated by this as a Black woman, as a Black mother, as a human being. We should all be angered. We should all be sending out love and healing energy to AJ's family and her children. Her lawyers, give them strength, give the prosecutors strength to do what they need to do. And we just hope that justice is served, and I just hope that if you are a Black and brown person watching this, that you protect yourself and your children. And then you do a great job of advocating for people who look like you and me, and educating people who don't look like you and me as to what is really happening. The fact that we need the love and help and support of the allies of the Black and brown community, the LGBTQIA community. There is an attack on people who are other. I've always said this: if you identify as other, queer, brown, Black, anything outside of the spectrum of what they want you to believe is normal, then this matters to you. It should matter to you. This affects you, because there is a genocide of Black and brown. There is a genocide of other. There has been a genocide of LGBTQIA people in the community, and we have to come together. We have to speak up and talk about things like this. Say her name. Say it 1,000 times. You guys remember these children. Remember what has
would like to ask questions. I will be answering.
I can't even go through watching all of this. I do hope that y'all do. It's crazy for me to watch. Crazy for me to see all of this, like I said, keep her in your prayers and thoughts, you guys. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Stay high. Mm-mm-mm.